Hi, happy Friday. I am Nikki Guy-Dixon, the author of I Am the Elect Lady, How to Embrace God's Design for Your Life. And it has been a week and some, about 4 days since I have released the book. And I just wanted to come to you this morning and talk to you about chapter 8. The Elect Lady Has Boundaries. And this is one that I thought that I was going to come and talk about probably first, because I think that it's so difficult for women to set boundaries. We have a tendency sometimes to say yes to things that we really should be saying no to. We have a tendency to people please. We have a tendency to want to fix things in a way where the cost of us fixing it, or the cost of us solving a problem, or the cost of us basically trying to um, answer a question or just be the solution to something that really is not really our role to do, we have a problem to hurt ourselves sometimes in the end when we do that. And I think that that is a characteristic that men deal with, but I think that they may deal with it a lot differently. And I look at that in terms of my relationship with my husband and myself. When my husband says no to something, usually his no is pretty much no. He does think about it sometimes, he'll pray about it, but he's secure in saying no to things, and he kind of moves on from it. I know for me, and most of the women I know, that's something that we have to grow into, letting our yes be yes and our no be no. Sometimes we kind of get mixed up into how people may feel about a situation, or feel about us, or feel about a circumstance. And that's not always healthy for us. And really, that's something that we have been dealing with since the beginning of time. I love to always talk about my sister Eve in the Bible. As you can plainly see, it was very easy for the serpent to come to her and convince her that she should be doing something that she knew she shouldn't be doing. And when I talk about boundaries in the book, I'm looking at it from the perspective of not only sin, but things that can cause us to sin or have an unproductive life. Um, I know that sometimes when you have a family, there are things that you should say no to. Maybe it's activities, maybe it's scheduling, maybe it's certain things that you just have to say, no, we can't do that. And as a momager, or momager, I think that's the term that people have when you're a mom and you manage. And I don't mean as far as like even in celebrity terms, but I mean just you're the keeper of the household schedule. You're the keeper of how many things you do or how many things you're involved in. Even in that role, sometimes you have to say no, um, and stand for what you believe in. Also, in terms of boundaries, you should always have some type of parameter that states what you won't fall for. And for me, that has always been prayer. That's one of the things that is my boundary. Before I make a decision, before I make a move, I try really hard to pray about that. I mean, from everything that I do, I try to really, really pray about it. And God often convicts me when I don't pray about something that I should have prayed about. And I have to kind of deal with that and say, okay, well, God, I'm here now. Forgive me for not seeking you out in this, but let's talk about this. And it can be small things in life that you think are small that can really lead to big and major decisions. It goes beyond who you marry, or which school you select for yourself to go to, or everything. I know for me, I know my husband is supposed to be my husband. I spent a period of time praying, and that was my boundary. That was the boundary that I had. And even though we made lots of mistakes along the way, as far as dating or courtship or whatever you would like to call it, the boundary for me was prayer. God was still speaking to me and leading me because that was my boundary. And I once heard a person say, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So going into this weekend, I want you to think in terms of, what are you not standing for? You know, do you see something going on that you should be standing up for, but you just say, no, I'll just fall in line with that. You know, the world is changing so rapidly, and people are really dictating to um, the Christian body as to what we should believe and how we should believe it. And the thing about it is, God has everything in His Word. And remember when I told you I had a Bible that I beat the bricks off of? This is my Bible that everything is highlighted in. And these are the chapters that were falling out in church. And my husband was just like, you have to get a new Bible. But I love this Bible because it had the tabs in it and everything. So this morning when I was praying and I was talking to God, He took me to, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right. I told you guys, I am not a theologist. I'm just a regular woman that has a heart for the Lord. So if I don't say everything right, give me some grace. But I was reading Matthew chapter 5, the Beatitudes. And I like that because it's Jesus' words and He talks to us about why we should be blessed. But in chapter 11, verse 11, excuse me, chapter 5, verse 11, Matthew chapter 5, verse 11, He says, blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So setting boundaries, saying no, walking away from a situation, living a life for God, nobody's going to sit here and tell you that it's going to be easy, that it's this cakewalk, that you're just going to be in a situation where you're just going to say, I accept God and I accept His word and I accept what He says in the Bible. This is my boundary. I'm not going to sleep with you before we're married. I'm not going to not put my family first. I am not going to drink alcohol, or I'm not going to engage in sexual activities that I know that God doesn't approve of in the Bible. I'm not going to steal. I'm not going to lie. When you step out to the forefront and say, this is my belief system, this is my boundary, these are the lines that I don't want to cross because I love the Lord and I don't want to cross them. Don't think that you're not going to be persecuted for that. Don't think you're not going to have haters because you're trying to live a life for God. It could be the people closest to you that have something to say about the fact that you're trying to live your life for God. But you only get one. You only get one life. You only get one shot at this. And I think that when you devote it and you give it to God and you set those boundaries and you try to do the right thing, that's ultimately the case. You're not trying to do the wrong thing and relishing in it and saying, I'm out here living life however I want to live life and I have no boundaries. I'm going to enjoy it all. Well, when everything that God is trying to shield us from by setting boundaries hit, you have to deal with the consequences of that because He's trying to protect us. So I have a lot to say about boundaries. I look at it in so many different ways, and even having boundaries on yourself, how you're going to think about yourself, how you're going to perceive yourself. So this video went a little long, but I only put out 2 this week. And my tea today is lemon tea. Once again, continue to pray for me. Continue to pray for my family. We're making a lot of decisions that are guided by God. And it's a scary thing. But God doesn't give us a spirit of fear. And I'm excited about what God is doing with the book. I've gotten really positive feedback. Continue to share, buy the book, Let me know what you think about the book and have an awesome day.